You might think a bedtime snack is harmless, but for people over 60, what you eat in the evening can make the difference between a restful night and a dangerous one. Doctors have warned that certain common foods, when eaten late at night, can quietly trigger blood pressure spikes, raise heart rate, and even increase the risk of heart attacks during sleep. These aren't rare or unusual items. They're often found in the pantry or fridge. Knowing what to avoid before bedtime might protect your heart while you sleep, and possibly save your life. If you're serious about protecting your heart after 60, subscribe to this channel and share your evening routine in the comments. A few small nighttime changes can have a powerful impact on your health, sleep, and energy. Let's take control of our hearts, one smart choice at a time. When it comes to protecting your heart after 60, what you eat in the evening can matter more than most people realize. Doctors have observed that one of the most overlooked nighttime risks isn't a heavy meal or dessert. It's a few simple slices of processed deli meat, salami, ham, turkey slices, or even that convenient pre-packaged sandwich meat many of us reach for when we're tired. It seems harmless, but the science says otherwise. Experts explain that processed meats are loaded with sodium, far more than what your heart can safely handle late in the day. Sodium doesn't just make you thirsty, it changes how your heart and blood vessels behave. It causes your body to retain water, which increases blood volume and puts extra pressure on your arteries. For seniors whose vessels may already be stiff or narrowed with age, this can quietly raise nighttime blood pressure. That means your heart is working harder while you sleep, when it should be resting. But sodium isn't the only problem. Doctors point to preservatives like nitrates and nitrites, which are added to processed meats to extend shelf life and preserve color. These chemicals can interfere with how oxygen moves through your blood and may increase inflammation in the body, both of which are linked to a higher risk of cardiovascular events, especially in people over 60. Researchers have found that frequent consumption of nitrates, even in small evening portions, contributes to long-term heart strain and arterial damage. Many people eat deli meats late at night because they're easy. Few slices on a cracker, a cold sandwich, a quick plate of leftovers. But doctors warn that these quick fixes can lead to long nights. The high sodium content not only affects blood pressure, but also disrupts your body's fluid balance. Seniors often report waking up to use the bathroom multiple times or feeling unusually thirsty during the night. This breaks up sleep and robs your heart of its recovery time. Experts have also observed that nighttime consumption of processed meats can contribute to what's called nocturnal hypertension, high blood pressure that spikes during the night without warning. It's silent, often goes undiagnosed, and puts significant stress on the cardiovascular system. People who experience these nighttime spikes may not feel different in the morning, but their heart function quietly suffers over time. Processed deli meats are also typically high in saturated fats. These fats raise LDL cholesterol, the kind that clogs arteries. When eaten late in the day, these fats are more likely to sit in the system overnight, interfering with the natural detox and repair processes that occur during sleep. Instead of allowing the body to rest and restore, these fats keep it busy breaking down heavy, artery-stressing ingredients. Some studies have drawn connections between late-night sodium-heavy meals and heart rhythm irregularities, particularly in older adults. One common concern is atrial fibrillation, a condition where the heart beats irregularly or too fast. Doctors have observed that spikes in sodium intake, especially before bed, can act as a trigger for these episodes. Seniors with underlying heart conditions may already be on medications to control their rhythm or pressure, and a heavy dose of sodium at the wrong time can interfere with those medications' effectiveness. Another subtle but real issue is dehydration. High sodium foods like deli meats pull water from cells and into the bloodstream, forcing the kidneys to work harder to flush out the excess. At night, this causes frequent urination, disrupts deep sleep cycles, and leaves the body dehydrated. By morning, Dehydration in seniors can lead to dizziness, fatigue, and reduced circulation, further straining the heart and increasing fall risk. Processed deli meats also tend to be paired with other heart-unfriendly ingredients, cheeses, breads, pickles, sauces, all of which can compound the effects. Doctors emphasize that it's not just the meat itself, but the habit of eating a salty, heavy snack close to bedtime that slowly chips away at cardiovascular health. Experts urge seniors to think of the hours before bed as sacred for the heart. What you eat during this window can either allow the heart to rest and restore, or force it to stay alert and overworked. Salty, processed meats fall firmly into the second category. And while the effects may not be felt right away, the long-term impact is well documented. Higher risk of high blood pressure, increased chance of heart attack, and greater burden on aging kidneys and arteries. The good news is that this is one change that's fully within your control. It doesn't require a new medication. It doesn't demand a gym membership. It's simply a choice, a small, consistent act of care toward your own heart. Replacing processed meats with lighter, lower sodium options in the evening can make a meaningful difference. Many doctors report improved overnight blood pressure, better hydration, and more restful sleep in seniors who make this adjustment. If deli meat has become part of your routine, you're not alone. But now that you understand what it's doing inside your body, especially while you sleep, you have the knowledge to make a safer choice. You deserve rest. You deserve strength. And your heart, after all these years of working hard, deserves peace every night. Choosing to avoid processed deli meats before bed isn't about restriction. It's about protection. It's about choosing a better tomorrow, starting with tonight. Because the heart is always listening. And when you care for it, it cares right back. Chocolate might feel like a small comfort at the end of the day. A little square of dark chocolate, a soft cookie, or a scoop of dessert before bed. Sweet, familiar, and easy to enjoy. But doctors have observed that even these small indulgences can quietly interfere with the body's most important repair window, especially for those over 60. The heart, which should be resting and recovering through the night, is instead pushed to overdrive. And that comes with hidden risks. Experts explain that chocolate, especially dark chocolate, contains natural stimulants. One of them is caffeine, and the other is theobromine. Both of these substances gently increase alertness, raise heart rate, and cause mild arousal in the brain. That's fine in the morning or early afternoon. But at night, when the body is trying to slow down, these compounds send the wrong message. They trigger wakefulness in the nervous system, and they interrupt the heart's ability to enter its nightly rhythm of rest. Researchers have studied the effects of late-evening stimulant intake in older adults and found a clear link to heart irregularities. When caffeine or similar compounds are consumed after dinner, even in small doses, the sympathetic nervous system stays active longer than it should. This keeps the heart rate elevated into the night, increasing nighttime blood pressure and reducing heart rate variability. Both of these effects are red flags for cardiac strain, and in people over 60, they can quietly raise the risk of heart attack while sleeping. Doctors have also observed that many older adults are more sensitive to caffeine than they realize. The body processes caffeine more slowly with age. So while a small piece of chocolate might seem harmless, it can stay in the bloodstream longer, sometimes well into the night, keeping the heart alert instead of relaxed. Some seniors report waking up frequently, tossing and turning, or feeling tired in the morning without realizing the cause. In many cases, it's not just the sleep disturbance. It's what the body had to do to manage the stress internally. Experts warn that even so-called healthy sweets marketed toward older adults can contain these stimulants. Dark chocolate, for instance, is often praised for its antioxidants, but a single square can contain as much caffeine as a cup of decaf coffee. Add that to any desserts made with cocoa powder, chocolate chips, or energy-boosting ingredients, and the late-night snack becomes a subtle stressor. The heart has to work harder, blood vessels may tighten, and the restorative benefits of sleep are quietly lost. Doctors explain that the hours between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. are especially critical for heart repair. This is when the heart slows its pace, blood pressure drops naturally, and the body begins deep cellular repair. Anything that interferes with this rhythm, like chocolate or hidden caffeine, can disturb that healing window. And when this happens regularly, the cumulative effect on heart health becomes serious. Sleep disruption from stimulants doesn't just leave you tired, it alters the heart's natural nighttime rhythm. Studies have shown that people who experience poor sleep quality from caffeine or sugar before bed often develop higher morning blood pressure, more inflammation, and lower oxygen saturation overnight. All of these place silent but steady pressure on an aging cardiovascular system. There's also the sugar factor. Chocolate and sweets often come packed with refined sugars. This leads to a spike in blood glucose, which triggers the pancreas to release insulin. That process raises metabolic activity, right when the body is trying to wind down. Doctors warn that elevated nighttime blood sugar is associated with increased oxidative stress and greater arterial stiffness. For seniors, this means the blood vessels don't relax fully during sleep, which is another factor linked to nighttime heart attacks. It's not just about big sugary desserts. Even a few chocolate-covered almonds or a piece of cake after dinner can create this chain reaction. And because the effects feel mild, they're easy to overlook. You may not notice your heart beating faster. You may not feel anxious. But inside, the heart is missing its chance to rest. And over time, the cost adds up. Experts point out that nighttime is when the parasympathetic nervous system should take over. This is the body's rest and digest mode. It's responsible for slowing the heart rate, improving digestion, and triggering deep sleep. Chocolate and caffeinated sweets stimulate the opposite system, the one responsible for fight or flight. And when this happens at the wrong time of day, it leads to hormonal imbalance, higher cortisol levels, and greater heart strain. Doctors emphasize that sleep is not just for the brain. It is a full-body therapy session the heart relies on. 1. Quiet hours of the night are when blood pressure naturally lowers, inflammation falls, and the lining of blood vessels begins to repair. Interfering with this through small nighttime choices, especially ones with caffeine and sugar, can quietly reverse all those benefits. Some studies have even linked late-night chocolate consumption to nighttime palpitations. These irregular beats may feel like flutters or skipped beats, and while they're often harmless, they can be unsettling and disruptive. For those already managing heart conditions, palpitations increase anxiety and may even trigger emergency visits. Experts say removing late-night caffeine can often eliminate these events altogether. But here's the hopeful part. This is one of the simplest changes you can make for better heart health. Doctors often see dramatic improvements in sleep quality and blood pressure in seniors who remove caffeinated treats after 6 p.m. The heart slows more easily, the brain settles, the body finds its natural rhythm again, and morning energy improves. Avoiding chocolate and sweets at night isn't about denying yourself joy. It's about protecting your heart's ability to recover. It's about honoring your body's need for calm. And it's about trusting that better rest brings better days. So if a small square of chocolate has become your evening habit, just pause. Look at what it's doing, not just to your taste buds, but to your sleep, your rhythm, and your heart. Then choose what truly supports the health you've earned. Because even one quiet night of rest can lead to a stronger, safer tomorrow. Late at night, when the day is winding down, it's easy to crave something warm, salty, and satisfying. A few fries, a piece of leftover fried chicken, maybe a late fast food run when cooking feels like too much. But doctors have observed that for people over 60, this common habit carries a hidden cost. When high-fat, greasy foods are eaten close to bedtime, they do more than fill the stomach. They quietly raise inflammation, strain the heart, and set the stage for a dangerous event, often while you sleep. Experts explain that fried and greasy foods are heavy in saturated fats and often cooked in oils that are high in trans fats or omega-6 fatty acids. These fats increase inflammation in the body, especially in the blood vessels and heart tissue. Inflammation may not cause pain right away, but researchers have found that it plays a major role in heart disease. For older adults who may already have narrowed arteries or high blood pressure, these late-night meals can quietly push the heart into a state of distress. Doctors have observed that the body processes fats much more slowly than proteins or carbohydrates. When seniors eat fried foods before bed, the digestive system works overtime, while the rest of the body is trying to power down. This keeps the heart working harder, pumping more blood to the stomach to manage digestion instead of resting, as it should. That extra effort can disrupt the natural nighttime dip in heart rate and blood pressure, which is essential for heart recovery. When this recovery doesn't happen, the heart remains in a state of alertness, increasing the risk of cardiac episodes during the night. Researchers have also linked late-night fat-heavy meals to spikes in triglycerides, a type of fat found in the blood. High levels of triglycerides increase the thickness of the blood and make it harder to pump. Experts explain that this effect is especially concerning when it occurs during sleep, because blood flow naturally slows at night. This combination of slow circulation and thickened blood can lead to clots or unstable heart rhythms, two major contributors to nighttime heart attacks in older adults. Another issue doctors highlight is acid reflux. Fried foods relax the lower esophageal sphincter, a small muscle that keeps stomach acid where it belongs. When it relaxes too much, especially when lying down, acid moves upward into the esophagus, causing burning, pressure, and interrupted sleep. While this may seem like a digestive problem, studies show that chronic acid reflux, especially when caused by high-fat foods, can irritate the vagus nerve, which plays a role in heart rhythm. For seniors, this can result in heart palpitations, shortness of breath, and a disturbed sleep cycle that leaves the heart unprotected. Experts also point out that fried foods contribute to weight gain, insulin resistance, and higher cholesterol, all of which are known risk factors for heart attacks. But when these foods are eaten before bed, they have an amplified effect. The body's metabolism naturally slows at night. That means calories are more likely to be stored as fat. Blood sugar stays elevated longer, and inflammation doesn't have a chance to subside. Doctors have observed that seniors who regularly eat fried foods at night often wake up feeling groggy, bloated, or unusually fatigued. Not because they didn't sleep long enough, but because their bodies were never fully at rest. Sleep studies also show that consuming greasy foods before bed affects sleep architecture, the structure of the sleep cycle. Deep sleep, which is vital for immune function and heart healing, is often reduced. Seniors report waking more frequently, sweating during the night, or experiencing vivid dreams. These aren't just annoyances. They are signs that the body was overworking during a time it was supposed to be recovering. Doctors emphasize that the heart, like the brain, has a rhythm. That rhythm depends on periods of effort, followed by periods of rest. When the stomach is full of fried foods, it sends signals to the body that more work is needed. Blood pressure stays higher, heart rate remains elevated, and the risk of heart strain, particularly in vulnerable adults, increases. It's also important to remember that fried foods often come with excess salt. Fast food, in particular, is loaded with sodium. This sodium draws water into the blood vessels, raising blood pressure and increasing the workload on the heart. Experts say that a single salty, greasy meal can raise blood pressure for hours, interfering with medications, disrupting sleep, and weakening the body's natural heart protection mechanisms during rest. The most dangerous part of all this is how quietly it happens. There may be no immediate symptoms, no chest pain, no dizziness, just a habit, a plate of food, a full belly, and sleep. But inside the body, the heart is working too hard. The vessels are inflamed and the blood is thickened. Over time, this adds up. The body becomes more vulnerable, and one night it may not recover as easily. But there's hope. Doctors have consistently seen that when seniors cut out fried foods at night, even without changing anything else, Energy improves, sleep deepens, and heart health stabilizes. The heart responds quickly to relief. Blood pressure improves, rest returns, and the quiet rhythm of recovery begins to heal what's been overworked for far too long. If fried food has been your comfort at the end of the day, you're not alone. But now you know what it costs your heart while you sleep. And that knowledge gives you power. Power to choose a different comfort, a gentler meal, a lighter option. Something that fills your body without burdening your heart. You've carried your body through so much, and your heart quietly and faithfully has carried you. It deserves a rest at the end of the day. It deserves peace. And that peace begins with the plate you choose tonight. Oh, a bowl of cereal or a piece of toast before bed might seem innocent. It's quick, it's familiar, it feels light. But doctors have observed that for people over 60, these late-night habits, especially when they involve sugary cereals or white bread, can quietly interfere with heart health and sleep. Not because of how they taste, but because of what they do inside the body while you're trying to rest. Experts explain that foods like sugary cereals and white toast are classified as high glycemic carbohydrates. That means they break down into sugar very quickly in the bloodstream. This causes a rapid rise in blood sugar and triggers the release of insulin, a hormone responsible for moving sugar into cells for energy. But at night, the body isn't supposed to be chasing energy. It's supposed to be slowing down, preparing for deep rest and repair. Doctors have seen that this sugar insulin spike, followed by a sharp drop, places stress on the heart. When blood sugar falls too quickly during sleep, it can trigger the release of adrenaline and cortisol, stress hormones that wake the body up and increase heart rate. This leads to fragmented sleep, sudden awakenings, night sweats, or even racing thoughts around 2 or 3 a.m. The cycle is often blamed on aging, but in many cases it starts with what was eaten just before bed. Researchers studying older adults have found that unstable blood sugar at night is linked to an increased risk of nighttime cardiac events. The heart, like the brain, relies on steady energy while you sleep. Spikes and crashes force it to work harder. Seniors with existing cardiovascular conditions are especially vulnerable because their hearts already carry the weight of long-term wear, and these nighttime stressors only add to the burden. Experts also point out that sugary cereals are often highly processed and low in fiber. Without fiber to slow digestion, sugar enters the bloodstream fast. White bread toast behaves the same way. It lacks the whole grains that provide slow, steady energy. Instead, it floods the body with sugar and leaves it crashing just as you're trying to drift off. Doctors have observed that these kinds of meals can cause blood pressure fluctuations at night, either dipping too low or spiking too high, both of which are dangerous after 60. Insulin spikes also affect another key system, the nervous system. When blood sugar falls rapidly, the body senses danger and activates the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. This increases heart rate, constricts blood vessels, and disrupts the natural calming rhythm that the body needs to enter deep sleep. For seniors, this overactivation can also interfere with medications designed to regulate blood pressure or heart rhythm, making nighttime even riskier. Sleep specialists have observed that people who consume sugary snacks before bed often experience delayed sleep onset. It takes longer to fall asleep because the body is busy processing sugar and dealing with the hormonal chain reaction that follows. Even if sleep does come, it's often shallow and interrupted. The body never fully reaches its deepest, most restorative stages. Over time, this can lead to next-day fatigue, increased inflammation, and a weaker immune response, all of which place added strain on the heart. Experts explain that the timing of carbohydrates matters just as much as the type. During the day, the body is more equipped to handle fluctuations in blood sugar. At night, everything slows: digestion, metabolism, circulation. So a sugar rush that might feel manageable during daylight hours becomes disruptive and even dangerous when the body is trying to rest. Studies show that seniors who eat high glycemic carbs before bed also experience more vivid dreams, night sweats, and temperature fluctuations during sleep. These symptoms often go unlinked to diet, but researchers have confirmed the connection. The body's effort to stabilize blood sugar in the middle of the night causes internal heat, hormonal swings, and spikes in heart activity, all while the person is lying still, unaware of the silent strain building within. Doctors have found that seniors who replace late-night high-glycemic carbs with slower digesting options, like small portions of nuts or low-sugar yogurt, report better sleep, fewer nighttime awakenings, and lower morning blood pressure. These simple changes protect the heart, reduce inflammation, and help regulate the body's nighttime recovery cycle. It's easy to fall into the habit of reaching for toast or cereal when hunger strikes before bed. They're fast, they're easy, and they feel comforting. But now that you understand how these foods behave inside the aging body, how they trigger hormonal responses, strain the heart, and disturb sleep, you also have the power to choose differently. To choose rest over rush, to choose protection over pattern. Doctors emphasize that sleep is when the heart does its healing. Blood pressure lowers, inflammation drops, tissues repair. But that only happens when the body is calm, blood sugar is stable, and digestion is not demanding energy. High glycemic carbs block that healing process. And while the effects may not be immediate, over time, they silently chip away at the heart's ability to recover and stay strong. So if cereal or toast has become part of your nighttime routine, consider what it might be costing you. The momentary comfort might be followed by disrupted sleep, morning fatigue, or even increased risk to your heart. But this is a change that doesn't require a prescription or a major overhaul. It only requires awareness. And a small shift in what you choose to eat, especially in those quiet hours before bed. You've given your heart decades of service. Now it's time to give it something in return. Something as simple as better rest, a calmer rhythm, a night without stress signals racing through your veins. That begins not in your medicine cabinet but on your plate, tonight.